Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, this is Wayne here with Tri-County Locksmith Service and wayneslockshop.com. I want to welcome everybody here, and I want to actually go ahead and show off one of the most prized possessions that I've actually received. So this is my ALOA, A-L-O-A, certificate of training. This document, basically, I've been trying to get since 2019. In 2019, I traveled to Texas, took the 3-day course on how to become an instructor for ALOA, and then COVID and a few other little things happened, and it's taken quite a bit of time to now get this document actually in my hand. So this certifies that I am officially a ALOA certified instructor, or a certified ALOA instructor, CAI. So that is really cool. I just thought I'd share that with you guys. That's been a long time in the making, and it is dated October 21st, 2023. So just so you know, we have to do continued education to keep these credentials and credits, along with all the ones that you see behind there. Out of all of those, this is by far the most important, most valuable, most hard-earned, and most well-earned document that I have. So I thank everyone for their support for that. Getting into today's programming, we are going to slide this over here, and we're going to do a screen share. This is going to be how to build a locksmith vehicle or a service vehicle. Okay, so you can see that we're going to enter into wayneslockshop.com. Start off by going to wayneslockshop.com. If you're not a member, you can get a free 7-day trial. So you don't have to put in any credit card information. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is sign up. Obviously, this is where I keep all of the information that I can't post on YouTube for free for the public to see. There's information on opening safes, safe deposit locks, lock picking, lock drilling, lock bypassing, all of the stuff that I say that I really don't feel comfortable posting out for the public to see for public safety reasons, goes on this website here. And that's where everything stays. This is where my whole life's work is. And this is where my real training program begins. So again, 7-day free trial for that. Please try it out. If it's not for you, that's fine. It's not for everybody, but everyone that has gone and taken it so far and actually utilized it has given some really positive feedback. So I just like to throw that out there. Next, once you're logged in, you put in your password, you put in your login information, and it takes you to this screen where we can then go to forums. We'll click the forum section, and it will take us to this section here. And the most recent thing added was in general locksmithing about 7 hours ago by me, preparing for this particular class or webinar. Okay, so here we have all of these different photos. Wow, there's a lot of different ones here. Okay, and we're going to go through a lot of this different stuff, but we're going to start right back up here at the top. Okay. This is actually going to be the link here too. So yes, I did build an ambulance and we will cover that. However, I'm going to break this up into bite-sized sections and chunks so that everyone can understand and learn along at the same time. Okay. I'm actually going to start a timer on this so that I know exactly how long we're going. And we'll jump right into it and get started. So the very first van that we ever had was this Chevy Astro right here. And I just want to go ahead and bring this up. It's not the best photo. It's not the best. This was taken, in 2012 with a, whatever camera was on the phones then. It's nothing like it was now. But it was a Chevy Astro, 4.3 liter engine, V6, paired with an automatic transmission. This was kind of their hybrid. They took the truck engine, the truck transmission, and the truck parts and put them into a van, into a smaller compact van. So they've always offered the big 1-ton vans and the 3/4-ton vans. This is like a 1/2-ton van hybrid. It's also all-wheel drive, which makes it great for this environment. The only problem with the all-wheel drive system in this van and in any of the Chevy vans for that matter is there are no low gears. So in a pickup truck, you're going to have 4 low, 4 high, and it's going to double all of the gears that you have for really getting into towing, off-roading, mud conditions, and it just gives you all that torque in those lower gears that you're not going to have for anything else. All in all, it was a great van. Lasted about 200,000 miles before we sold it, and then sold it for a larger 3/4 ton van. So we'll just kind of read through this here. My locksmith career started April of 2012. This way, I had to come into the industry and be a locksmith and understand the business. So we bought this from somebody who was ready to retire. I purchased the business, the clientele, the phone number, the service vehicle, which happened to be this roughly 2004 or 2005 was the last year they made them, Chevy Astro. And yeah, it's got the 4.3 liter V6 engine, which is basically a Chevy 350 V8 engine with 2 less cylinders than this one here. One thing that I did want to note on here is that I try and avoid the independent front suspension systems with this. So this has what's called independent front suspension, which means that each one is independent. Each one of the front wheels is tied to a solid mass that's independent. On this other van, or like on a heavy duty truck, it's got what's called a solid axle. Now, the reason I don't like the independent front suspension system on this is because they would literally have to adjust it and align it while I was actually in the vehicle. Okay, so I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but quite literally, when I went to go get an alignment done, I would have to sit in the vehicle as well. Okay, that doesn't really fare that well for me. And that tells me that if, under 200 pounds, if 165 pounds is going to throw off the weight that much, this is probably a problem worth noting. Okay, so after having this smaller gas van, I'm also 6'1", so I don't fit inside this thing very well, and I don't have a whole lot of pictures of it. If you look in Wayne's Lock Shop, you'll see some of the older videos of me all hunched over and crouched in there with a little board across as a desk, but it was not comfortable to say the least. It was enough to get me out of the elements, and that's about it. I was not exactly thrilled with that particular setup. So it did its job, and it allowed me to earn enough money to get another service vehicle. So after the Chevy Astro, I decided that a solid front axle is what was needed. I had to locate a 4-wheel drive van with a V8 engine, and this Ford Econoline E250 came up for sale. This one has the Quigley 4-wheel drive conversion kit, which is one of the best conversion kits ever made, and it was certainly the best at the time. Quigley was the only 4-wheel drive kit or system that used genuine Ford parts, Ford axles, Ford transfer cases, and everything Ford to allow for a factory Ford warranty for the 4-wheel drive conversion system. That means that it takes a 2-wheel drive van, you send it to this company, and they add all of the 4-wheel drive stuff to it. And it gives you real truck 4-wheel drive. It gives you the real deal 4-wheel drive. So you have high and low. It's not just engaging the front wheels. Once we had the E250 van built out, this one was one that actually got featured in Business Fleet magazine. So here we'll go ahead and just take a look at this thing up close and personal. And you can see what it looked like. We put this major heavy duty bumper on there. That's for all of the deer and, snow and idiot drivers that we encounter. We want as much steel as we can between us and them. And I want to take a note for a few things here. Number one is look at where the driver and the passenger sit, how close to that front wheel you are. I'm going to explain why I like trucks a whole lot more than vans because of this, and we'll refer back to it. When I'm sitting basically on top of this spring or very close to it, and not kind of back here in the middle a little bit more, it tends to be a much rougher ride. And you encounter and feel every spring and bump that you encounter along the way. It's not that much fun. But this is a great service vehicle at the time, and this is what we had to work with. I'm just explaining. I'll bring this up in that seating position, so I want you to notice, here's the spring, here's the driver. When we see this on a truck, the driver is going to be much further back here, and it's going to allow for a much better ride. But going back to this vehicle, you can see it sitting next to the truck here. The truck's a little bit bigger, a little bit wider, and this was our other service vehicle that we set up. Okay. Again, this one was featured in Business Fleet magazine. This was the best build competition. So they had myself and thousands of other people who were building their service truck or service van at that time. And they contacted me, and I documented everything as we went along and built it, and ended up making the cover of this magazine. This is the May/June issue of 2015. So just to kind of give you an idea of the time frame of all of this stuff. Okay, if you're interested, check that out online. Let's see, this van was built, featured in Business Magazine. I also insulated this entire thing and kind of documented the building process by stripping pieces of plywood into strips and actually bolting it all the way around the van as we moved things up and built things up. And then I actually ended up putting some insulation in between the wood and the body to make sure that everything was nice and insulated, and I stayed nice and warm. We had a Blitz key machine, a Blitz 1200 key machine mounted on the door. That was one of the most unique features of this van. Okay, so I just want to put that out there. Let's see, what else did we have here? Those are the other truck. Okay, that's good. So I'm just going to play this video and we'll go through some of the highlights. I'll just go through some of the highlights because it's kind of a long video. Oh, I apologize. We need to be on this video. And then we'll get that screen share. So this one here. All right. Oh, no, that is not it. I want 3769. Perfect. We'll full screen that. Now we can see. Once again, this thing's almost 30 minutes long, so I'm just going to go through and highlight what we did here. But I just basically explained what this van is, the year, make, and model. This is a 99 Ford Econoline E250. I go through a lot of explanations about why we chose this particular vehicle. And obviously, this was pretty early in my career. The lighting's not the best. A lot of the things aren't the best, but we do get a chance to see a lot of the features and aspects of this vehicle. One of them being, here's our tool station right here. I'd also like to feature the ease of access. So when you're designing your service vehicle, you want to make sure you can get in and out in a very quick and easy manner. That is one of the most important things that you can possibly do. This video is old enough that we actually had a printer in the van at that particular time, so that's kind of cool. The other thing is the bulkhead that we're looking at. So that bulkhead is very important. If you're running an open van or an open SUV or an open car, you need to make sure that you have this bulkhead in here, because otherwise the objects in the back and the tools will become projectiles that will kill you in the event of an accident. And you do not want to have that happen. So always, always, always have a very good, heavy duty, properly installed bulkhead on here. If you can get it installed by somebody else, that would be a huge advantage, simply because the liability would then fall on them. Here's that SureTrack van, that Quigley sticker and badge as well that I'm showing on this. If you install the bulkhead yourself, you can do that if you're trying to save a budget. I did on this one. However, the reason that I say have somebody else do it is if there's ever an incident with an employee or yourself and there is an accident and it fails or bolts shear or something does hurt somebody and somebody gets injured, that's going to be a major liability and problem for you. If you can go back to somebody and say, hey, this happened, what happened here, you're going to be money ahead. Here's that solid front axle design that I was talking about. This is what's called I believe the Dana 60s are 1 ton. So I believe this is a Dana 44. Dana Track 44 or Dana 44 with manual locking hubs and good quality snow tires as well. Passenger side, nothing to write home about. Just make sure that you've got a good quality air compressor or a jump starter to help start your vehicle or other vehicles. Here you can see we've got a little nut and bolt bin that we put on there and mounted a bunch of toolboxes and things in there as well. Here's all my other toolboxes. They're all held in by this plywood frame. And then there's a ratchet strap that goes through all of them as well. We now have some of the Anderson cabinetry. This is Anderson that makes that particular style of cabinetry. Things open up. I've got a little step ladder, power inverter, all of the good things that we need to have in here we have. Skip forward a little bit. We've got our lock stock on this shelving unit right here. Just a bunch of knob locks, deadbolts, lever locks, all the things that you're going to run into on a daily basis that you're going to need. Now, one of the things that made this extremely unique was the way that I mounted this Blitz 1200 key machine. I can cut keys in the safety and security and weather tightness of the van, staying out of the elements. However, the brass shavings all land inside the vehicle with me. So I decided to mount it on the door. And when we mount it on the door, it can actually swing out. And on good fair weather days, I could cut the keys and the brass shavings would fall directly onto the ground. Okay. Here we've got more Anderson cabinetry with just more tools, Allen wrenches, followers, keys, key blanks, all that fun stuff. Just continue to go through the process there. Here is some of the footage. Actually, that's really cool that I was able to save this. So this is the van originally before we did anything. I took this plywood and cut them all into strips and then mounted it with self-tapping screws all along the inside portions of the van on these internal structures here. And then I actually filled everything with packing peanuts and insulation on the outside. We also used a little great stuff foam for the instances where we needed to have that. And you can see that we'd put a piece in, cut it, and then put another piece in and cut it and put another piece in and cut it into these strips until we basically have everything all lined up. Now I'm explaining how we installed this bulkhead and then reinforced it with that heavy-duty piece of angle iron up at the top. I was not happy with the way that it sat, so I decided to add a little extra to it. Oh my goodness, this is old enough. I'm actually using yellow tools. So I'm now mounting the shelving. The plywood also gave me a great spot to mount things to. It allowed me to drive a screw or a nut and bolt right directly through it and be able to use that and utilize it. There's our bulkhead. There's our 1500 watt power inverter and our other power inverter. 2 is 1, 1 is none. So make sure that you have, I always wanted to make sure that I had 2 power inverters, not just 1. Then here we are back with our lock stock. This is my pinning tray and my pinning area right here. And also having that heater inside, you can see that I had the heater inside. If I left that oil radiant heater plugged in all the time, then it would not be cold and my tools would be nice and warm in the morning. So that's a little hack. If you've got one of those plug-in radiant heaters, like we see right here, that is what kept everything nice and warm when I had to get up at 3 in the morning to go run service calls. Okay, so that is pretty much that whole van setup in a nutshell. Now, after that, we moved on to some other needs. And what happened was I needed to grow. So my business at that specific time, we started off with the Chevy Astro. I realized that we needed a new van because that one was not going to last all that much longer. I did put a transmission around 140,000 miles on this Chevy Astro. So keep that in mind. The transmission lasted, I believe it was right under 150,000 miles. And that's when I decided that we needed to start comprehending alternative to this. So after we rolled over 200,000 miles, it was time to start looking for a new van, and that's where we found this particular unit right here, and it didn't have that many miles on it. My next problem was I figured out something in business. And when I say I figured out something in business, what I mean is I learned a lot in that first couple of years. So if I started in 2012 and then I got that other van 3 years later in roughly 2014, 2015, somewhere right in there, I realized that having the van is great. However, when the van breaks down, I have two major problems. One of those major problems is I don't have a service vehicle. I can't go continue to run other calls. If my wife has her car, I can't use it. Okay. I also realized that when the van is down, it's costing me money twice. Okay. Twice. I lose money that I could have been making that day. And in my business with my company, I make around between $1,200 and $1,800 every single day that that vehicle is out on the road per service truck. Okay. When that vehicle is in the shop, that money goes to zero. There is no money to be made. So my vehicle is not making me money. Okay. I'm also being charged money to repair that vehicle. So that means when I have a transmission go out, that van is going to be down for at least a week, probably more in today's time and numbers. Okay, we know that shops are all backed up, shortages, insert whatever you want to put in there. But now I've lost, so if that's down for 5 days, I've lost well over $5,000, and I'm going to have to pay about $3,000 to have the transmission replaced. I'm out almost 10 grand just for having one mechanical issue. That will not put me out of business, and it won't put you out of business either if you listen to me. I got a turnkey backup vehicle and built it all for under $1,000. Now, if you have an additional family vehicle that you can use a personal vehicle for company use, great. By all means, go ahead and do that. Sometimes that does leave your significant other a little grumpy if you're loading a bunch of tools in there and getting it all dirty and getting brass shavings everywhere and just doing our day-to-day routine. There's a reason we have work trucks for us to work out of. So we don't have to work out of our personal vehicles. So it was a total game changer to have this concept and have this idea to have a turnkey backup. After the van, I decided that we needed to grow and expand on having a second vehicle. One of the things that you realize with driving an older vehicle is it's going to break down and it's going to go to the shop for routine maintenance. When your routine maintenance happens, you suffer losses, as we explained earlier. So my solution to the problem was to build an additional car on the cheap. I only had about $1,000 budget to do this, and I built a whole nother service vehicle. So if you want to take a look, this is what it looks like from the outside. Little Subaru Outback, bought for under $1,000, had 180,000 miles on it. I believe I sold it. It had 240,000-ish miles. And you can see the hatch pops up and you can put everything you need to right into this little vehicle right here. Okay. Set up my toolbox with a pinning kit right behind the passenger seat. I do not want this toolbox right behind me, which is over here, because of what we talked about earlier in that event of an accident. I don't want all of the things in the back smacking me in the back of the head. So I put all of the heavy things on the passenger side and made sure everything that was put in on the driver's side was below this seat. So it would literally have to come through two seats to actually get at me. Safety first, as always. Here's my pinning kit that was set up in here as well. You can see that we had different key blanks, lab 05 or 03 pinning kit, whichever you prefer, and a power inverter with power chargers to charge all of my battery powered tools. Just because my tools are battery powered doesn't mean I don't need to charge them. So this little 1500 watt inverter with this power strip and a little battery bank over here would charge all of my charging needs. Now, I want to segue on that for 1 second, and I want to talk to you about a technology advance with key machines. Now, the reason that we needed to have key machines before with giant power inverters was because they took a ludicrous amount of power to run. That technology has since changed, and now you could use something like this Triton key machine that will work on just about everything. You can plug it into a cigarette lighter. It has a 12-volt adapter already built into it. They've Triton and Triton Plus key machines have already built all of this stuff into them so that you can run this on the smallest of amperage fuses. You can plug it in directly to a 120 volt outlet that some vehicles come with standard. For example, my F-150, I had a 2014 F-150. It would plug right into that came from the factory and be more than enough power to operate the machine. It draws very, very low amounts of power off of your system. That is why this machine, I think, is one of the best hands down machines for the mobile locksmith. You can plug it into a cigarette lighter. You can plug it into a cigarette lighter on that old Outback. You can plug it into the cigarette lighter of an old Toyota Camry or a Honda or anything, an old minivan that has the smallest amount of amperage and fuses. I have not seen anything that this machine will not work with. If you already have a power inverter, that's great, and you can plug it into that as well. However, that is one of the main features of this machine that I am really ecstatic about. And when you're setting up a new machine, you need to have a quality key cutting machine. This will cut just about everything out there. The only thing it won't do, because the first question people ask as soon as I say that is, what won't it cut? What won't it do? Or what will it do? Well, it'll do just about any automotive key. It'll do Tibby keys. It'll do tubular style keys, pin tubular keys, the little round vending machine ones. It'll do residential and pin tumbler locks. That is what I utilize this machine for. And it's what my guys utilize it for. I currently have a Triton, the old original Triton, which is this one here, and a new Triton Plus, both rolling around in vehicles, and they have been for the last couple years, and they are amazing. I do not have any issues with these machines. As long as you keep them updated, they will work wonderfully for you. So let's just take a look at how we have this set up in my new truck, which will be covered in this series. It's not going to be covered tonight, but it will be covered in the upcoming. Key machine up to a Milwaukee pack out click and store system and mount that to my workbench in my truck. Yes, I did. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I did. Look at that. Beautiful. Now it's nice and secure. Everything plugs right in. And then this will work directly off the truck's power inverter. That is a thing of beauty. Alrighty. Hey, how's it going? This is Wayne here, and this is my new setup. So we've got a table hooked up, and what I've done is utilize the truck's actual seats. So I'm sitting in the back seat of the F350. Those are the front seats up there. I've installed a table and a workbench where I have a pinning mat on Velcro that will stick down here, and then I can move into the job site if I need to do so. I've got my pinning mat my pinning kit that does the exact same thing if I need to. And then one of the coolest things, I think, and the cherry on top, is the Triton key machine mounted directly onto Milwaukee pack out system, so I can move this key machine wherever it needs to go. How many times do we find ourselves needing to take a machine from one van to the other, whether it's broken, it gets in an accident, something happens, or you just switch drivers or you switch techs? Now I can just do one click and the whole thing comes right out, click, and I can move it anywhere I want to go. But I know that this is a very expensive, high quality machine, so it's also safe and bolted down right here. It's bolted to this plate and it just clicks right in. It does an amazing job. Also, the Triton is one of the few key machines that's going to actually work directly off the truck's natural power inverter. So I don't have to install an extra one. I probably will get a very high output, 1500 or 3000 watt power inverter eventually. But the nice part about this key machine is that it's not required. You can simply plug it in to your regular truck as is. For more information, check out the website below, and thanks for watching. Okay, so there's a little pitch. This is a sponsored show, and so from time to time, you will hear about specific tools and parts that I use. I will tell you one thing about my sponsorship. I do not sponsor any tools or products that I do not use personally and that I don't believe in. I actually have the luxury at this time and age where I actually approach the manufacturers of the tools that I like and that I use. I do not have manufacturers approach me. And if they do approach me and I do not like the product or believe in it, I will not put it on my program, just so everybody knows. But there you go. You can see the advantage of the Triton key machine. You can see the advantage of being able to take it in and out. And then I mount it on that Milwaukee pack-out system, and I can put it in any of the trucks that I need to put it in. One of the biggest things I want you to take home is, out of all the vehicles that I've set up the Astro, I've set up the E250, I set up the Subaru, I've set up an ambulance, I set up a gas Ford truck, I've set up a trailer, for crying out loud, I've set up an ambulance, I've set up a Ford F-350 2020 F-350, that one you saw there. I've set up 7 or 8 different vehicles, and I found the magic that works. And the magic that works is the ability to have everything interlock with each other. So that Milwaukee pack-out system allows me to transfer any tool, any bin, any box, any stock from any truck and put it into another one, and it's automatically securely bolted down for the travel and the time that it's in there. And when that truck is done, you simply plug and play like Legos and put it in the new vehicle. This is a game changer. Saving time is absolutely the key to all of this. So let's go back to our little Subaru. So here's our little pinning kit right here. Obviously, that was not set up. This was set up when my employee was running it, because I would never leave my pin kit that dirty like that, and that used. And we'll go ahead and check out here. So here's what it looked like from the driver's seat. It looks like this was towards the end. This was probably around that 240,000 mile mark. This thing did last with the original engine and transmission. Well, I don't know if it was the original transmission or not. I didn't put an engine. I didn't put a transmission in it, but it did an amazing job of what it needed to do. One other little caveat to this that I would like to tell you about that made this system work extremely well is I actually went even one step further. I didn't have any technicians to help me. I had to build everything from the ground up. And when you have to build everything from the ground up, I didn't have the luxury of having somebody being able to drop me off at the mechanic or pick me up or drop my vehicle off and pick it up for me. I had to do all of it on my own. So I quite literally hooked up a tow bar to this particular car right here that you can see. And I reinforced the bumper and front end, and then these two pieces are tow bar pieces. So I would have a tow bar like you see on a Jeep, and I would tow my Subaru behind the van, go to the mechanic, do what I needed to do, drop the vehicle off, and then go about my way and make my money back for the day. So now I eliminated one of the things that was costing me. There was a roadblock in my way, which was I can't make money if my vehicle's in the shop. I eliminated that problem. I addressed it and eliminated it through creativity. Now, did the mechanics laugh when I pulled up and my van is tow barring a Subaru into their lot, and then I have to get out and undo the tow bar, throw the tow bar in the back, park the van, throw them the keys, get in my car and go? Sure. But I put $1,500 into my pocket that day so that I could pay the bill and keep the money flowing. Okay, that is what out-of-the-box thinking does for somebody. It allows you to come up with a solution that is not conventional, but it allowed me to solve the problems that I had at that point in time. Don't ever underestimate the poor little Subaru. So here we go. Unfortunately, saying goodbye to the Subaru service vehicle, unloading it and getting it after over 240,000 miles of wonderful service. Okay, so this thing really did last. It really did a good job at what it was supposed to do. It did its job. I got more than my money's worth back out of it, and it did exactly what I wanted it to do. Alrighty, guys. So quite a few people asked me to take some pictures and kind of go over what I have for my backup car here. Number one, it's nothing fancy at all. I think I bought this car for like $1,000, and the whole entire purpose of it was anytime you're down, your main work vehicle is down, you lose twice because you have to pay to get it repaired and get it up and running, and you also miss calls. So you lose twice. So it costs you $800 or whatever it costs for a repair. And, I can make $1,000, $1,200 a day. So now I've lost $2,000 instead of just repairing the vehicle. So this is my vehicle. I wrapped it all myself. I did everything. It used to be white. That is a note to put on there, is that I did everything to this vehicle. It was such a shoestring budget. I actually think that I completely wrapped, outfitted, and did the entire car for less than like $1,500. That includes all the toolboxes I just had from the house. We transferred them in there, and I did. It was white. I quite literally ordered the vinyl off of like Vinyl Giant or whatever was on the web at that time, ordered the black vinyl, and literally sat there in my driveway applying all of this vinyl and whatnot to it, applied the tint, applied the graphics, ordered the graphics, measured the glass, put the graphics on myself. I built everything on this vehicle to make it what it is. I got all this stuff ordered. I think I wrapped it for like $300. And it's not the best job, but it does what it's supposed to do. It looks like a lettered vehicle. Some of it's starting to fade now, but this thing's probably three years old, so the lettering's coming off in spots, but that's okay. The other cool factor is I've got tow bar, so I can tow this behind my truck, my main service vehicle, drop that off at the shop, go start burning calls right then and there. That's a huge advantage. Anytime you got to sit and wait for a ride, call a cab, get somebody to pick you up, you're inconveniencing somebody else and you're wasting time. That's the biggest factor. So it's got good tires, good brakes, all that fun stuff. Windows are tinted, so you can't really see what's inside. I'll go through some of the other stuff here. But the main point is that the $1,000 that I spent on this car easily made up for itself the very, very first day that I was able to continue to run calls and make that $1,000 back. Inside, nothing fancy, just a Subaru with a bunch of locks and locking cylinders. I've got it set up back there so you can have a pinning station. There's a power inverter, backup battery charger, all that fun stuff. We'll hop back here. So what you do is hop in here. Normally we wouldn't have all these locks in the way. And back. Okay. So we're in here. Power inverter. We can power a key machine. Normally I just have a duplicator in here because if you have tryout keys and blanks, you can pretty much make whatever you want. Pre-cuts, this car really, I can run about 75 to 80% of the calls that my big truck runs in this vehicle here, just because of what we have in here. It's got hand tools, it's got the basics, it's got lockout tools, car lockout tools, picks, all that fun stuff, the basics. And once again, if you just have a duplicator and some tryout keys, some pre-cut keys and depth keys, you can make whatever you want. For basic systems, everything here is pretty much like in QuickSet. If you're going to get into Sargent and all that other stuff, then we'll have to add that stuff or bring it with us. But pinning kit, voila. Okay. We could at least determine what we have for keyways for other ones based on tryout keys, interchangeable core stuff, different keyways there, profile cylinder, basic hand tools. But that's your pinning kit. You can sit right here and pull this out. You've got a key chart, key rings, all that fun stuff, files. If you're just starting your business, pay attention and list and write down all of the tools that you see here, because this is building your basics. You need to have a pinning kit, either an 05 or an 03000 pinning kit. I would usually opt, I think this one, I can't remember exactly what this one is. I think it's an 05, but 03 is probably going to be a little bit better. It's going to offer a little more servicing. Followers. Make a note of key charts, key gauges, different key blanks for tryout keys. All of the things that you see here, including the pinning mat, these are things that you can order from your supplier that will help you get started. So whether you're setting up another service vehicle and you might be forgetting a few of the basics, or this is your first service vehicle, you can understand exactly what you need to get through this video just by taking down a few notes and applying that to your current situation.
All the little pokey stuff that you need, snap ring pliers, all that fun jazz right there. I'm gonna steal these actually. Bits, drill bits, shims, springs.
Shims, lock shims, and lock springs, definitely a must-have for any locksmith. You can ask your favorite supplier what they have in stock.
Springs, batteries, all the necessities, batteries, Dremel tool stuff, cylinders, basic hand tools, screwdrivers, etc. Chisels, main pinning kits right here, pinning areas right here. You pull this out, set your stuff right there, go ahead and pin away. Got lots of pins, all kinds of stuff under there, key gauge, key chart, all that fun stuff.
Again, obviously, I normally run things much more organized than this, and this was after it was taken from an employee who was not quite as organized as I was.
And the bottom one, screen spline, more snap ring pliers, all the fun stuff there for setting all this stuff up. And then in the back, we got extra locks, the tow bar, drills, key blanks, etc. Got our lockout stuff right there, some airbags.
You can also take note of a lot of the different locks that I'm going to mention. Deadbolts, lever locks, knob locks. These are things that you'll need to keep on your truck or keep in your service vehicle so that you can service or replace anything that you need to at that point in time. So again, continue with that list. If you're setting up a new vehicle or this is your first setup, there's a lot of information that I'll give in here that tells you exactly what you need so that you don't make the mistake of not coming out or not ordering all of the proper stuff so that you can show up to the job prepared. I'll give you one quick little story about why this is jogging my memory. The first maiden voyage that this car had, I didn't even have a follower. I had all of the other stuff, but I didn't have a follower in here. I had my pin kit, I had springs, I had all of the things that I needed except a follower. So I didn't have my pin kit in there. I had something that was one of the issues too. So I had to go out and rekey a lock with no pin kit, no follower, and nothing but a duplicator and key blanks. And tryout keys. So what I was able to do was I was able to go out to that customer's location. I was able to pull their lock apart. I was able to roll a business card into a follower, basically just rolled it up really tight, put it in there so it would hold the pins up, pulled the plug out of the cylinder, and was still able to move the pins around and rekey it old school, like super #Yoda old school. Okay. Really, really, really old school stuff here. And just basically move the pins around and then use my depth keys to cut them another key that used all of the exact same depths that they had before, just in different locations. So it would be 1,000% impossible for that key to ever work again. Only the new key would work, but everything was moved around there. So I just wanted to share that little bit of inspiration for you. I showed up to the job site. The van had to go in unexpectedly, so I had to throw this car into the field before expected. And that was how I problem solved through that entire situation.
Okay, key blanks, Schlag, do not duplicate, RX, quick set, all the fun stuff, lock cylinders, okay, locks, deadbolts, lever locks, etc. Got a bunch of mortise stuff, latches and that stuff in there.
So lever locks are going to be something you should keep on the truck. That's something that people can't go pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot in most applications. It's a custom thing. Commercial grade levers in entry function, storeroom function, privacy function, any of those functions, and the different finishes in 26D, in silver, or in B3 brass, or in Duranodic, or the brown color as well. Matte black is becoming more and more popular. Need to have it in the proper keyways, Schlag and Quickset, and need to have it in the proper finishes and the proper function as well.
This is all nuts, bolts, that fun stuff, drills, batteries, charger, all of the goodies. So extension cord, tarp, everything to do basic jobs. So that's what you can set up for. All in, maybe $2,000 worth of parts and tools and everything all put in here, maybe a little more. And that keeps me going. So if something happens to a rig, it gets scheduled maintenance, that kind of stuff. Keeping vehicles running and keeping money flowing is the most important part of running a business. You have to keep the income coming in. This allows me to do so. It allows me to shut a vehicle down, do some preventative maintenance, have a planned day, and have a planned day to get into this thing and continue to make money for the day. I mean, you go run a couple lockouts, a couple of rekeys, it's paid for itself. We'll probably plan on retiring it soon, being as it's just got like 200 and some thousand miles on it, but does a good job. It's made me money, and I'm happy with it. For more information, check out wayneslockshop.com.
All righty. So we're about 42 minutes or so in here. And just let all that sink in. I know these aren't the best examples of the most flashy professional vans out there, but they're unique and they get the job done. And what I wanted to focus on here is I want to break that cycle that people have, that I need to have this van set up this way in this format because that's what my predecessor has, that's what my competition has, that's what I've seen in the past. None of that matters. Absolutely none of it. Okay. Take the ideas that you have and implement them and pair them with the ideas that you've seen to come up with something that works for you independently as an individual. As you will learn, you will see that we've moved away from the vans and we've started to move into trucks, and that's what we'll cover next time. So this was part one. I wanted an introductory level. Look, not one person out there can tell me that you can't start up your own locksmith business or start up your own service vehicle based off of a personal vehicle or $1,000 vehicle or less anymore, because I just showed you how it can be done. I picked up that van, I believe for about $8,000. So we're not talking about numbers that are breaking the bank. And I understand it's now 2023 and those prices have certainly gone up. I just literally, actually, that I've almost built 10 vehicles now, complete 10 vehicles. I set up another Toyota Tundra not that long ago that we did a coverage on as well. That vehicle was 10 grand. So don't tell me we can't do it for 10 grand. You absolutely, most certainly can. And a couple $1,000s in other things that needed to go into it, and you have no problem whatsoever. This is easily done as long as there is a will. You could even set up a bike or a moped or a motorcycle, for crying out loud. If you can get some basic tools on wheels so that you can go to a location, provide the service, collect the money, and come back home, you are in business. So I hope this certainly inspires you. I hope it makes you want to go out there and get started on that new rig, whether you're just starting out and this is going to be your first service vehicle, or whether it's building your 10th or 20th, like me. Have fun with it. And that's the most important thing. Always make sure to have fun with it. I thank you so much for your time today. Next time, we'll be going over setting up some other vehicles, everything from an ambulance. Yes, I have a 2001 Ford F-350 ambulance. I'll tell you what we learned about diesel vehicles versus gas vehicles and the mileage that they'll run, because that van died and blew up at 247,000 miles, I believe, was the exact mileage that it was. So I got about 250,000 miles out of a gas van, and then it threw a rod, spit right out the side of the block, and that was it. It was done. I will also go into vans versus trucks. How easy are they to work on? It was $10,000 to have an engine replacement for that van is what I was quoted. If it wasn't a van and it was a truck and it actually had a hood and you could access all of the pieces in the motor, unlike a van that it's all tucked and jammed up in there, then it would have been a whole lot less to repair. It would have been $2,000 or $3,000 less to have that engine replacement done, which is why I did not choose to do that. For that same investment of $10,000 that it would have taken to fix the van, I ended up buying a diesel Ford F-350 truck that we will go over next time. So next time we'll talk about beast mode, which is what I named that particular vehicle, gas versus diesel, long-term mileage-wise, long-term maintenance-wise, and just long-term overall. I can tell you that that vehicle has almost 400,000 miles on it now, and that diesel vehicle is still running, working, making me money today. So we'll go over how we set that up, the different evolutions, and it'll show you that you don't have to stick with one evolution that you've gone through. If you build a vehicle and it's not meeting your needs the way you expected it to, go back to the drawing board and redo it. I had originally built that to get inside, have a pinning station like a van. It just didn't work out that way. This is where we came up with the bed slide idea, where the bed slide is actually mounted and it comes out and it brings all the tools out directly to you. So we'll go over all of these things next time. I don't want to overwhelm you and bore you with too much information about building a service vehicle. I just want to let you know that anything you want to be a service vehicle can be your service vehicle. You build it to your standards and don't be afraid to try new and unique things. If I hadn't done that, I would have never made it into Business Fleet magazine with the absolute coolest vehicle and most innovative work vehicle of the year at that time. And I still continue to do that, as you saw with that 2020 F-350, the Treminator, if you will. If you want to see more information on that, check it out at Locksmith Ledger. That's what I named that vehicle. So I've built everything from a $1,000 Subaru to an $80,000 Ford F-350 Tremor and everything in between, including an ambulance. So stay tuned. We'll see you next week on round 2 for how to build a locksmith van, truck, car, or ambulance. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Thank you to the sponsors. We appreciate Triton Key Machines. And if a supplier has picked up this video and is supplying it or offering it to you, make sure you order any of the parts, the locks, the tools, the pinning kits, and anything you need to start your new service vehicle out with from that supplier. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day. Check out wayneslockshop.com.